Have you ever just stood in awe of a medieval cathedral? You know, those towering testaments to faith and artistry. Well, today we're taking a deep dive not just into their grandeur, but into the intricate world that built them. And we'll be doing that through the lens of Ken Follett's The Pillars of the Earth. You've brought some really captivating excerpts from the Spanish translation. They focus on building a cathedral in Kingsbridge. So let's get our hands dirty. Let's uncover the fascinating realities of medieval life as we explore the ambition and the faith, and yes, some seriously impressive engineering feats. One thing that grabs me is how Follett uses the cathedral as this kind of microcosm of medieval society itself. It wasn't just a building project, right? It was the heart of the community.
Absolutely. Imagine stepping back in time. The excerpts you shared, they really highlight the bustling scene within the cathedral's walls. This wasn't just about bricks and mortar, was it? It was a social and economic engine. Think about the sheer number of people drawn to Kingsbridge for work. The market just flourishing as a direct result of the construction. It's a really vivid illustration of how these projects were woven into the very fabric of medieval life.
It really paints a picture, doesn't it? You can practically hear the sounds, the clang of hammers, the murmur of tradesmen in the marketplace. And speaking of tradesmen, let's talk about Tom Builder, our ambitious protagonist. He doesn't just want to build a cathedral, he's driven by this almost obsessive desire to understand every single inch of it. It's like he sees the cathedral as this grand puzzle he needs to solve. In one passage, he describes the building as this complex mechanism. It's so intriguing to consider that. Imagine being so captivated by stone and mortar.
Well, Tom's passion, it reflects a very real thing about master masons in that era. They were more than just builders. These were artists, engineers, problem solvers of the highest caliber. That excerpt where he's meticulously assessing the work being done, recognizing the contributions of everyone from the lowliest laborer to his fellow masons, it really speaks to that depth of knowledge.
Yeah, it's like he's conducting an orchestra, each worker playing their part in this grand symphony of stone and glass. But we can't forget this isn't all soaring arches and hymns. This is a world where danger lurks around every corner. You marked a passage where Tom encounters a thief, and this wasn't some, romantic Robin Hood figure, was it? It really underscores this constant undercurrent of fear. It highlights the rawness and brutality of the time.
Precisely. Life in medieval times was often precarious. The excerpt where William Hamley attacks the quarry workers, it's a stark example of this. This act of violence, the very limited response from authorities, it reveals the fragility of life. It shows the power dynamics at play.
Such a stark contrast to the relative safety and security that many of us experience today. So we have these grand aspirations, this incredible feat of engineering and artistry in the cathedral, yet set against this backdrop of lawlessness and very real danger. What does this tell us about the world Follett is creating?
I think it speaks to the complexities of the human experience, even in the Middle Ages. This wasn't a world of black and white. It was one of ambition clashing with piety, of beauty emerging from chaos. The cathedral itself becomes a symbol of hope and perseverance, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And speaking of adversity, the excerpts you've chosen don't shy away from the personal tragedies that unfold. Tom's death in the fire, Philip's grief. These are gut-wrenching moments that remind us of the human cost of even the grandest endeavors.
Indeed. These losses really underscore the deep bonds forged within, let's say, the cathedral shadow. These weren't just anonymous workers. These were individuals with hopes, dreams, families. Their stories remind us that behind every stone laid, every arch raised, there were human lives deeply intertwined.
Lives connected not just by the cathedral itself, but by this intricate web of guilds and master-apprentice relationships. That was the backbone of medieval society, right? You highlighted a passage about Tom passing his knowledge on to Jack, and it got me thinking, what was the significance of these guilds and these master-apprentice relationships? I mean, beyond just learning a trade.
That's a really crucial aspect of medieval life that I think often gets overlooked. Guilds were more than just trade organizations. They provided a structure for society, a sense of belonging, of purpose. The master-apprentice relationship, as we see with Tom and Jack, that was central to this. It wasn't just about learning skills. It was about inheriting a legacy, becoming part of a lineage.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see how Follett contrasts this with Alfred's jealousy of Jack and really highlights that yearning for connection and belonging that these relationships offered.
Yeah, it's like a family, except you're bonded by your craft rather than blood.
Speaking of legacies, one excerpt you shared really stood out to me. The one where Jack encounters rib vaulting for the first time in Normandy. You can practically feel his awe, the way it changes his whole perspective on building, a true aha moment. It is a pivotal moment, and not just for Jack, but for the story and for architecture itself. Think about it. Rib vaulting, this wasn't just an aesthetic choice. It was a technological leap. It allowed for taller, lighter, more awe-inspiring structures. Jack's desire to create a cathedral that reaches for the heavens, a cathedral that will last until Judgment Day. It echoes these aspirations of builders throughout history, doesn't it? It makes you wonder what drove them to achieve these feats with the limited tools and knowledge that they had.
It is humbling, isn't it? That drive to build something that transcends generations, something that touches the divine. But let's not forget, this is Follett's world. Even architectural marvels can't escape the shadow of human drama. And in this case, the drama takes the form of William Hamley. You noted his obsession with Alina and how it takes a dark turn. It's a stark reminder of the vulnerability of women in that era.
William's actions, particularly in that excerpt you mentioned, they're appalling. However, they also serve as a catalyst. We see Aliena's incredible strength and resilience, her escape with Richard, their struggle for survival. It reveals a really remarkable spirit.
She's a survivor, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not just Aliena who shows remarkable strength. Her brother, Richard, his unwavering loyalty to her, his determination to reclaim their family's honor. It's such a powerful example of familial bonds. Their journey to Winchester, their encounter with Meg, who introduces Aliena to the wool trade. It's as if they're forced to create their own family, their own support system in the face of adversity.
And this journey leads to a really significant turning point. Aliena, thrust into this new world, discovers a talent for business, this sharp mind for trade. It challenges our perceptions of what was possible for women in medieval society, doesn't it? The wool trade, as described in the excerpts, it becomes her path to independence, wouldn't you say?
It's almost as if she's building her own kind of cathedral, brick by metaphorical brick, through her own ingenuity and grit. But Follett doesn't let us forget the past either. Their father, Bartholomew, even as he's imprisoned and dying, makes them swear oaths to reclaim their legacy and, you guessed it, to build a new cathedral. It's as if these grand structures are intertwined with their very destinies.
Bartholomew's dying wish really highlights a powerful theme here, the enduring legacy of ambition and faith. And it's fascinating how Follett uses these very personal stories to echo these larger societal forces at play. You really get a sense of how these individuals are shaped by, and in turn shape, the world around them.
A powerful reminder that even in the midst of these grand historical events, it's the personal stories, the individual struggles that really give these events meaning. And Aliena, true to her character, tackles this challenge head-on. She dives into the wool trade. She even bargains with Philip for the best price for her wool. It's like she's a medieval entrepreneur.
Her entrepreneurial spirit is remarkable. But what's truly fascinating is how Follett uses her to explore something else, the changing dynamics of medieval society, the rise of towns, of trade, new opportunities for those willing to seize them. Aliena embodies this shift.
She's not just breaking a new ground in business, is she? She's challenging the very structures that sought to confine her. You highlighted a passage where Aliena confronts the restrictions placed on her by the guild. It's as if she's saying, I will not be defined by these limitations.
Absolutely. This clash between individual ambition and these established institutions, it's a recurring theme. The guilds, once seen as these pillars of stability, are now being challenged by those like Aliena who are forging their own paths. It's a dynamic that feels incredibly relevant even today, don't you think?
Absolutely. This constant push and pull between tradition and progress, between individual desire and societal expectations, it's definitely something we still grapple with today. But of course, this newfound prosperity attracts attention. And not all of it's welcome. Walleran, that cunning manipulator, he sees Kingsbridge's success as a threat, and it sets the stage for yet another power struggle.
Walleran, he embodies the ambition often found within the church itself. His dispute with the town over the quarry rights. It highlights this ongoing struggle for control between religious and secular authorities. It's a stark reminder that even in a world seemingly dominated by faith, power dynamics were constantly shifting.
It's like a game of chess, isn't it? With entire communities caught in the crossfire. And poor Philip, ever the idealist, trying to navigate this treacherous landscape with his faith intact. You pointed out his frustration with William's actions, his struggle to reconcile his beliefs with the harsh realities he faces. It makes you think about the challenges of staying true to your principles in a world that doesn't always play by the rules.
Philip's journey is a testament to the complexities of faith. He represents a kind of idealism, a belief in justice, in righteousness, which is constantly being challenged by the ambition and greed he encounters. But I think it's this very idealism that makes him such a compelling character, don't you think?
Absolutely. He's a constant reminder that even in the darkest of times, there are those who strive for something better, something more just. Speaking of striving, let's talk about Jack. He returns from Normandy, a changed man, his encounter with rib vaulting just sparking a passion that borders on obsession.
The excerpt where he describes his vision for this new cathedral, it's breathtaking. This isn't just about building a structure anymore. It's about creating a legacy, a testament to human ingenuity and faith. And Philip, recognizing Jack's talent, he sees in him a kindred spirit, someone who shares his vision for a grander, more ambitious Kingsbridge.
It's a powerful partnership, each man driven by his own aspirations, yet united by their shared desire to build something extraordinary. But as we know, even the best laid plans, how do I put this delicately? Let's just say William Hamley has a knack for turning a celebration into a disaster. You mentioned William and turning a celebration into a disaster, and it made me think about that excerpt where he disrupts Aliena's wedding. Talk about a reception gone wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's fascinating to see how Alien, even in this moment of chaos, she uses her wit, her understanding of William's character to her advantage.
Absolutely. This is where we see her really blossom as this strategic thinker. She turns this situation, this violation of her own agency, into a negotiation, a way to secure her own freedom. It's a real testament to her resilience and her refusal to be defined as a victim.
It's like she's playing this high-stakes game of chess. And William, despite all his bluster, is just a pawn in her game. But amidst all this personal drama, the cathedral construction continues, right? And Jack's passion, fueled by his experiences in Normandy, it becomes almost all-consuming.
The excerpts that you share, they really highlight this, the dedication, the sheer force of will it took to erect these magnificent structures. Imagine the back-breaking labor, the constant problem-solving, the unwavering belief that they were building something truly sacred.
It's awe-inspiring, isn't it? Especially when you consider the limited technology they had at their disposal. It makes you appreciate the craftsmanship, the ingenuity that went into every archway, every stained glass window. But even as the cathedral rises, a different kind of storm is brewing, the Civil War. It casts a long shadow over Kingsbridge. And it forces Philip to confront not just political turmoil, but the potential for violence and division within his own community.
The conflict between Stephen and Maud, it becomes a crucible for Philip's leadership.
Yeah.
You can really sense his internal struggle, can't you? In that excerpt where he's receiving this conflicting information, unsure who to trust, who to believe, it reveals the fragility of peace, the ease with which alliances can crumble.
It is a reminder that even those who dedicate their lives to faith and peace, they can still get caught in the crossfire of political ambition. But Philip, despite his doubts, he remains committed to seeking justice, even if it means challenging those in power. His decision to travel to Lincoln to seek Maud's protection, it's a risky move, but one that speaks volumes about his character.
And this is where I think we see an evolution. In Philip's understanding of justice, it's no longer just about upholding the doctrines of the church. It's about protecting his community, even if it means defying those he once considered allies.
It's like he's realizing that true leadership means standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult, even when it's dangerous. And his encounter with Maud, as you pointed out in the text, it's a fascinating glimpse into her character as well. She's not just a figurehead, is she? She's a shrewd political player who recognizes Philip's integrity and sees the potential in Kingsbridge.
It's a pivotal moment. For the town and for Philip's own journey, Maud's support offers a glimmer of hope, a chance for Kingsbridge to thrive, even amidst the uncertainty of the war. But of course, Follett doesn't let us off that easy, does he? The conflict with William Hamley, that simmering resentment, it boils over once again, leading to a final devastating confrontation.
That excerpt you shared, where William unleashes his fury on Kingsbridge, it's heartbreaking. It makes you realize that some people are so consumed by their own ambition, their own need for control, that they're willing to destroy everything in their path.
William becomes a cautionary tale, a reminder that unchecked ambition can have devastating consequences. But even in the face of such destruction, we see the resilience of the human spirit.
It's inspiring to see how the townspeople, led by Jack, inspired by Philip's unwavering belief, they come together to rebuild. It speaks to the power of community, doesn't it? The idea that even when everything seems lost, we can find hope and strength in each other.
And as the cathedral nears completion, it becomes more than just a building, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a symbol of their perseverance, their unwavering faith, their refusal to be broken by tragedy.
It stands as a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, a reminder that even amidst the darkest of times, we are capable of creating something truly extraordinary. So as we kind of emerge from this deep dive into the pillars of the earth, what insights do we take with us? What has resonated with you?
For me, it's the reminder that history isn't just a collection of dates and battles. It's a tapestry, and it's woven from individual lives, their struggles, their triumphs, their dreams. And while the world Follett depicts might seem far removed from our own, the themes he explores, ambition, faith, the enduring power of the human spirit, those remain timeless, deeply resonant.
Beautifully put. And for me, it's the reminder that even the grandest of endeavors, those soaring cathedrals of our own lives, they're built one stone at a time. It's the small acts of courage, of perseverance, of compassion. Those are the things that ultimately make the difference. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the heart of Ken Follett's masterpiece. We hope this deep dive has inspired you to look at cathedrals, and maybe even your own world with a newfound sense of awe and wonder. And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to pick up the pillars of the earth yourself and delve a little deeper into this rich and rewarding story. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep building those cathedrals of your own.